It's that day of the week again, family, where we receive pure condensed goodness, happiness in our screen. I was about to say in our hand, but watching the episode, the sixth episode of the 100 Girlfriends Who Really, 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 Really Love You is so. It makes me so incredibly happy because this is an episode of which a lot of people, whether you are a new fan, I suppose, right, or someone, especially someone who has read this series before, right, have been looking forward to so much. And for all the reasons that you may come to think about, right, and knowingly, of course, that this is the episode of which it's considered as the quote-unquote fan service chapter or the fan service episode, well, I guess you can see why. But in my opinion, aside from just the fan service element of it, there's another thing as well of which I really was happy, and one thing that I also really look forward to reading, or when I read and when I watched this episode 6, family, the pool date episode. We kick it off with or going back rather from the previous episode, right? Nana was introduced to Hakari, Karine, and Shizuka, and Hakari gets scheming here and there, and she suggests a pool date at this specific water park, right? And well, need I say more, family? When you think of pool and anime, you already know what's gonna come into your mind first, right? A lot of times, of course, needless to say, you'd expect a lot of more of the ecchi elements here and there, right? And that's pretty understandable, fam. Especially with fan service episodes such as this, right? Or anything that involves body of water or skinship or whatnot, like beach episode, hot spring inn, right? Or sleepovers. Would that also kind of count in one way or another, right? So all of these different situations and scenarios formulate or come together to having all of the characters be in this condition where, it's a quote-unquote fan service, right? And I know a lot of people are, quite divided about their thoughts on this, right? Some would question, why would you put it there in the first place? Others would say, hey, come on, it's just an anime, it's just fiction, right? Who cares? It's fan service. It's there to service the fans, right? But in my opinion, family, whatever way or interpretation or perspective that you have on fan service episodes, right? I leave it up to you to feel however you want to be, but if I may, I would also like to share my own opinion towards this specific take, or the way that Hyakuno, this story, makes do with with this fan service chapter, so to speak, right? Now, to add more context, right, pool episode, fan service episode, right, and more specifically, this entire episode covers 2 chapters of from the manga, right, of this same arc. This entire pool date arc is at the span of 2 chapters, and I'm really glad that within those 2 chapters, they've really done a really good job, in fact, to incorporating that into this single episode. So I'm really happy for that, right? And as usual, the way that this that Biburi adapted Hyakuno from its animation into the storyboarding and directing of the pacing of this story is quite nice as well. I absolutely have no problems with it. I don't feel like it's been too rushed. It was just enough. In fact, they've even added a lot more, of which I'll also go in a bit later, right? So pool episode, pool date, family, right? Beautiful girls, a stunning man, cuteness, conflict, and good times all around. Now, towards fan service chapters, as I've said, right, it's there to quote-unquote service the fans, and whatever purpose that you have on it, right, I'll leave it you to be. But Hyakuno takes this sort of, what should I say, or to rephrase that rather, how can you make a fan service chapter good, right? I guess the way that I would put it is that you would have the story be able to work its way to really utilize well the elements of this fan service episode, and really make it work to accomplish 2 things: to service the fans, so to speak, right, quote unquote, but to also develop and to show growth, development, and progress with the story and with the characters as well, right? Resolving their inner conflicts and such, for example, right? With how Hyakuno managed to utilize the the situation of them going to the pool, right? And this is just also to give a bit of a spoiler, right? To help me further explain my point. So so after a few things, right? Rentaro went unconscious. Hakari and Nano went to call for a male bodyguard, male lifeguard. What did I say? Bodyguard. And in the midst of it, they got caught up with some of these guys, right, trying to pick up on it or trying to hit on them, so to speak, right? And when Nano tries to defend Hakari, right, this whole Hakari would really also stand up for Nano, and how Nano stands up for Hakari. Then Rentaro comes swooping in by as usual, delivering that awesome battle stance, right, to to show dominance across the room. And yep, he essentially all was resolved, right? Now that's sort of scenario, right? That sort of resolution to how there was conflict created from these girls being in this scenario, right? Well, that further elevates, right, the closeness that Hakari and Nano has, right? That's a pretty subtle baseline level of an example. In my opinion, that's just that just about covers it about on how important or how meaningful it can be to also have these sorts of moments in a fan service chapter, right? It's not only just about the figures, right, of the heroines, of the characters. It's not just about the service, right? But it's also about creating relationships, creating progress, and making sure that there is development and there is something cooking, there's something brewing between the middle of it or within all of it, right? Even just the the small bits of expressions, for example, right, delivered by the characters. And this is one thing I wanted to share as well, right? I really love, again, I really love the expressions. Indeed, I can't appreciate enough the expressions of the characters of the entire of the characters of the series, right? For instance, you have Hakari's that smiley that smiley aura, that Nano's steel eyes of steel or razor eyes, so to speak. What's the term, right? Determination, with determination, right? You also have Shizuka's expression when she's about to cry, and Karene's quivering, or the moments when she's rattled, right, or startled I should say, right? It's so good. Towards the animation, the expressions, and everything about it is absolutely amazing. I also wanted to really highlight as well how beautiful the characters are when they're in their swimsuits, so to speak, right? Really very nice tone and physique to them, right? The animation of it was well done. But that's the thing as well, isn't it, fam? Animation, etchiness, whole episode, fan service episode. Well, I guess that sort of element, the etchiness element, right, to the story is further, or is even more highlighted throughout this episode, right? And yes, indeed, the entire story of this manga, in fact, has a lot of ecchi elements to it, right? And of course, knowing, family, that this episode, or this anime rather, I should say, is being streamed across all different platforms, one of which is YouTube, they're gonna have to cover up and censor up quite a lot of things, a bit, yeah. But overall, right, this one scene, family, within this story, within this pool day chapter, right, that sort of that sequence of scenes, right, was cut. Yeah, certainly, right, in the YouTube's stream, right, and it was pretty noticeable in my opinion, right. But either way, it still delivered a pretty high quality story, and overall the entire mood of it was quite understandable as well. You could get a good grasp on what happened, so to speak, right? But yeah, I felt like it was also a bit abrupt, But either way, again, as I've said, overall a really good chapter. Story wise, I really love how they were able to have all of these characters come together and resolve some conflicts and differences between them, to open up with each other, right? And to also increase and strengthening their bond with Rentaro, and just enjoying the situation that they are in, family, right? And with the anime, I also really wanted to say, it's so good as well that they've added again a lot of elements found that hasn't been found within the manga, right? So all of those parts are so good. It's something that I really appreciate again with animation, right? And the way that people or the directors, right? Director has directed this anime. It's so lovely, and I really can't wait for the next episode. And I hope you also can't wait, family, as well, because correct me if I'm wrong, but the next episode is going to be a pretty wild one, so to speak, right? And with that being said, thank you for listening, family, and take care.